going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check. This is your preview for, I guess I'll say, WWE New Year's Evil, even though it's wrong, and that is Jake fucking DeMarco. What's going on, buddy?
I said it before, I'll say it again. You always make me feel like the badass superstar I wish I was, my friend. You just knock it out of the park with those introductions. Trekopedia's got a point. And I love the feedback that we've been getting from the fans with the podcasts that we do on your channel, the live show on our side. It's just good to get feedback, people enjoying things. I like having that discussion and, you know, the tit for tat, the quid pro quo. They give a little, we get a little. And he made some great points before. You know, yesterday we were talking about the upcoming Netflix expansion, the debut of Raw. And for Canada, you get everything.
We get everything. Well, you said it at the end of last night's pod. There's going to be a lot to talk about. And
yes, and
I don't
I'm
think
supposed
there's
to be throwing a Roku and a Fire TV at you at some point, just because of how you have access to everything. I'm going to have to chuck something at you from here to Canada.
You'll have to thank Trek for me for that one.
Absolutely. But he made a great point. It's like we didn't even really consider, Tiffany Stratton and her Money in the Bank briefcase and how much that would play into everything.
Fair.
Because we were so just enamored with Rhea and Liv and the she could come out and that could keep their feud going and just take the title away from the picture entirely.
I don't think that would be the case. I think if she won the title, I don't think they want to do too much like belt swap shit. So I do think in that case, if she wins the title, it would be the title bringing her to Raw, not her bringing the title to SmackDown. But even if you kept it going, and I know I said the exact opposite on our pod last night about triple threats, but in this case, her keeping the title above both of their heads, you could almost have a, like, we hate each other, but this is our feud. She doesn't belong here. Let's go get her.
Right.
Like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend is my enemy. You know what I'm saying?
It really could be that moment for them.
But the thing about it is, though, as well, and we're going to talk about the actual match later on, Tiffany Stratton, for all we know, could show up at New Year's Evil and cash in.
She could. And you know what?
That would be a lot of fun, too. I wouldn't hate it either. I don't want that match to necessarily be interrupted because I think it's going to be the main event.
I would prefer it not be interrupted, but my God, could you imagine the ramifications that would be if... See, Nia, I told you I wasn't going to cash in on you, and now she's a champ as well as Nia, and, I mean, there's something to it.
Well, there's lots and lots. I mean, there's stuff happening on Netflix.
Like an ogre. And onions.
Ogres are like onions. Yes. But, I mean, between this Friday and the first 3-hour SmackDown, and then Netflix Raw, and then this show that we're about to talk about, we are going to be drowning in women's action. Because I don't know if I've mentioned it before, WWE is pretty damn good with their women's division. So, let's kick it off.
Wet, my friend.
Let's kick it off with the brand that showed you could have a mid-card women's championship. The first match I want to talk about for WWE, fuck it, NXT New Year's Evil. It's not for the Women's North American Championship. It is for a number one contendership for that championship. It's Cora Jade, Lola Vice, Kalani Jordan, and Stephanie Vacour.
Before you even give me a prediction, I'm cutting you off.
Yep.
Hot shot take. I see people complaining that it's not a title shot for the main title, that it's for the Women's North American Championship. I say eat my ass with a spoon. That's kind of what I have to say about that. They have validated the importance of that North American women's title since it debuted. Kalani Jordan has made that thing what it's supposed to be, a workhorse title. You have your main champ who you try to excel to be or to conquer, and that stepping stone to becoming great is exactly what Kalani put over. And now that, Fallon's got it, she's doing a great job being a solid heel, holding onto the belt, and I want to see what happens going forward with that. And this triple threat, three-woman tag, 6-woman tag, you should say.
Which is going to be a lot of fun.
Trios match. I know there's so many names to it, jumbling my words over here. There's a lot of different elements that I like because, all right, they got the belt. Maybe the belt's not being defended, but at least the story's advancing. And it seems
here's what I like, though. But to piggyback on that.
It seems like they're setting up Shotzi, right, eventually?
For
a title shot, it seems like to me.
I don't think so because I think Shotzi being teamed up with Tatum and Gigi is just to put a bit of extra shine on them and maybe put them in a tag team scenario. I don't think Shotzi being on NXT is a permanent thing.
And I'm sure we'll talk more about Shotzi when we get to that match.
Yeah, we will. But I wouldn't mind
with this match here, are you upset that it's for the North American Championship #1 contendership or no? I think it's a great idea.
No, I think they've done a little bit of a reverse psychology thing here, right? Because they've put this match on instead of the title itself because the champion is in a different match. But I think it's kind of cool that you prop up that title in a very different way to say even the fight to get to that title, the fight to get a chance at that title is pay-per-view worthy. And PLE special show, whatever you want to say.
You nailed it right there, Spaz. And to piggyback off you, sir, NXT is set up in such a way right now in the women's division. I made my wet joke before, but I'm seriously just enamored with what they've accomplished with women's wrestling. It just gets better and better. As you said, there's how many women on this card? You know, that's for a reason. And
they're firming up the divisions.
Yeah,
is what it is.
We've got 12 women on here, so I love what they're building. And let's say Julia lost, and Roxanne Perez needs someone to face next. Sol Ruca's available. So I could go on and on with people that aren't going for the North American title because they have people built and ready already to be the next one in line for a shot or a challenger. So they're in such a good place as where the men's is needing to build Eddie Thorpe and things on the fly. The guys need to step up this year for sure.
But I do like the way this match came together because all 4 of the women in this match are, regardless of who wins, we'll talk about who we think is going to win in a second. But there's 4 different stories going into this. Cora Jade has to strike out on her own and do something because the one that she's kind of partnered with is probably going to the main roster by WrestleMania or such, right? So she needs to strike out on her own. Like if Roxanne goes to the main roster soon, which everybody's guessing.
Somebody said the Rumble. If she lost the title here and go, I mean, it's not impossible, Spaz. It really isn't.
It's not
as common, but.
But here's the thing though, like they have to find a way to tell people which kind of entry that is in the Rumble.
Have they had NXT talent debut in the Rumble that actually made their debut? I know we've had people come up but not debut, so it's always a little confusing.
Here's the thing, but that's the thing, that you hit my point exactly. I don't want it to be a confusion thing. Every time somebody in NXT shows up in the Rumble, it's always okay, how do we take this? Is this them saying they're on the main roster now, or is this them in the Rumble representing NXT?
Yeah.
They got to be careful with that, and with the 1 or 2 other big surprises I think we've got coming up in the Rumble, I don't think you want to muddy the waters too much. I think Roxanne gets called up maybe a month or so. Maybe she's a surprise entrant in the Elimination Chamber. Did I mention I'm going? That kind of thing. But she's going up sooner than later. So my point with Cora Jade is she's losing her partner, so the option for her to go to a tag team scenario is going to go out the window soon. With all due respect, and I like Cora Jade, I think she gets a lot of shit that she doesn't deserve. I don't think she's going for the main title anytime soon. So to plant her flag and say, okay, I'm setting course for the North American Championship is awesome. Lola Vice, talking about like firming up the divisions and whatever, Lola Vice and Jada Parker has been the definitive non-title feud of the mid-card, which is awesome because it cemented, like I say, that there is a mid-card. Kalani Jordan is still in the mix, proving that she hasn't lost any stature because of losing the championship, and it's still kind
of... She lost that match, but look at the reign she went on to get there. I mean, she had, not only because she was the first and the oldest and the last, all that shit that Chelsea says, but no, really, she was the first, and she really set up how the title should be viewed. It could have failed. It could have flopped immediately. It could have just been like, oh, well, this is pointless. This is a joke.
She needs to stay in the... And I like that she's showing a little bit of fire now. I like that she's showing a little bit of aggression, even within her other fellow babyface characters. Like, stop telling me.
It didn't suit her to go right to the women's title yet. I don't feel like that step was made. So
but
she's
I think
a perfect...
I think she's still associated with that title so much.
Yes.
We're still in... And I'm all for Fallon Henley. You know I've been pulling for Fallon Henley for a long time, but it's still so new that it still kind of feels like, oh,
she didn't get a rematch either. I
No,
mean, we
she
still
didn't.
have that to consider. So there's elements to this that
My point being, Fallon Henley is sort of carrying Kalani's title. That feeling lingers because she lost a 3-on-1 scenario type of idea.
Yeah.
Stephanie Vacour being here is also really cool because it's a flex on their main event that they didn't put all three of their new signings in the main event right away because they didn't need to.
Well, that's another thing too. They still have Zarya, and she's not, featured here, and that's not a negative. It's not a negative because there's going to be a point, like we said, there's not enough for time management, whatever you want to call it, for everybody. So let's go ahead and make this. That's kind of what I like about the takeover style 5-match card. Mm-hmm. Everything on there, as far as NXT, has felt like a true need. The PLEs at times feel like house shows, but the NXT side of things have felt like, oh, these matches need to be there because they do only have so much. They don't have multiple shows every week. It's 1 2-hour show, and then it's their PLE. So they don't have a ton of time for everybody. So those on there are really vying. It's purposeful. There's a main story. What I love the most, and you hear me say it every time, story elements. I love when you have that spider web laid out where everything connects somehow.
Yep.
Lola Vice fits in here perfectly, as we said before. Her recent victory over Jada Parker can't be overstated. Then, like you said, Kalani Jordan is a great fit. Cora Jade, everything she's done to help out, obviously, Roxanne. And she's not going to go against Roxanne right now while they're buddy-buddy. That would be foolish. But, they could both be champion. It's like shooting your friend in the head. You can't have that yet. You don't want to get betrayed. So, what do we have? Oh, we have a mortal enemy in Stephanie Vacour because these two have been at each other's throats since she came into the place.
Exactly.
All of it fits so well, and I fucking love it.
My point being with Stephanie, and we're going to associate the three of them because they all came in together, but Zarya, Stephanie, and Julia need to sort of have that separation to say, like, yeah, we're not just three buddies that walked into the door together.
Yeah.
Stephanie Vacour...
and we're not all the same either.
Exactly. Stephanie Vacour setting her sights on a mid-card title. Zarya... They're doing this like reluctant partnership thing, but it works with Zarya and
Well, tell me I'm crazy,
Soruka.
but when we got the massive debuts of Bryan and we saw Adam Cole and everybody had all in there, they went over for a long time. I'm sorry, they didn't use Bryan the right way, and even Adam Cole. So we had the two of them, and everybody felt the same. It's like you got these big names, you just brought them in. And what now? Nothing.
Exactly.
So they just felt both the same. It's like you have two of the biggest names in the business, and they feel like they're just cookie cutter everybody. So they've really cut out a niche for these women to be unique. That each one has a different promo style because of their either inability to know the language or their accents. Everybody has this little bit of different dialect. So everybody's.
I'm not going to lie.
Australian.
Julia having Funaki as her translator for a little bit was a good bit.
That was great, and then
but immediately when they came in, you're like, oh, sooner or later Stephanie and Julia are going to face each other, and it's going to be awesome. I'm sure it will be awesome, and I'm sure it will happen at one point. But Stephanie,
I love we didn't go there yet.
Stephanie, like, mixing it up in one division. Like I say, Zarya, I have a feeling that they're going to try, not necessarily to bring the belts back, but they're going to make NXT as a whole in the conversation of the WWE Women's Tag titles. And I think the Soruka Zarya pairing
I think there's
is going to go
something there with those
so
two.
You've taken three awesome brand new signings to the women's division and beefed up all three sections of them. Obviously, Julia going to the main event, having her thing with Roxanne, we're going to talk about later on.
Way to put an Australian beach blonde with a blonde surfer. Like, I was like, there's so much more to it. How do you not see? Never mind.
You can't deal with those people.
It was an anime profile picture yelling at me.
We're leaving those people in 2024. 2025 is a vibe, my friend. But if you imagine,
but the Poop Squad tried to poison his family. You don't even know the lore, my friend. It just gets bad.
Fuck me. But here's the thing, though, right? Like, not so much Zarya, but Stephanie Vacour and Julia do have a friendship. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that they're a tag team. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to fight somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
But if they walk out of a pay-per-view as the North American champion and world champion, respectively, and I don't bring in this comparison lightly because I know it's got a negative connotation to it, could the two of them have their Benoit and Guerrero WrestleMania moment?
Yeah, I mean, is
Like,
that something that we
I'm talking
see?
about stand and deliver, oi, 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 not necessarily on this night. But
No, but I get your point, though. Yeah, can we get that where they're both crowned? We get the hug, the embrace. That would
yeah.
be incredible, right?
But I mean, like I say, just going back across the four of them, Cora stepping away from Roxanne, doing her own thing. Lola off of this awesome off again, on again rivalry she's had with Jada Parker. Jada Parker not being on the card or not being included in this is kind of a miss, but I mean, it's just a pile of people match. Kalani Jordan staying in the mix is just as important. Stephanie Vacour coming to the mid-card title so that the top of the card doesn't get totally plugged up. Like, every single person has a different entry point to this match, and I love stuff like that. It doesn't feel like what could I say? Kalani and Cora have a feud, but we don't want them to fight yet, so we'll just throw in some extra people. It's not about that.
Can I feel honest? Yeah, because there's no one in this match that feels thrown in just to take the pin. If any one of them wins here, I'm like, oh, cool. We either get a really great match and a new contender, an old rivalry gets a new flame, a rematch that we didn't see, or a badass making her way to the top. Like, there is no negative.
I will say, we're going to get into our actual prediction in a second. Unless Cora Jade is winning, I think she's eating the pin in this. But that's just a matter. Like, if Stephanie wins, she's pinning Cora. If Kalani wins, she's pinning Cora. If Lola wins, she's pinning Cora. Because these are obviously three baby faces that they have a lot of faith in. Cora kind of getting in there and fucking with people. Like, if she gets pinned, if she gets pinned, it could be seen as a comeuppance, rather than a burial.
Yes,
people love using that word. Honestly, I don't think we put Stephanie in the title picture until Stand and Deliver. I can see them using this as a shortcut to get Kalani her rematch, to get the rematch out of the way, so that then we crown Fallon Henley's next contender, and at that point I think you get Stephanie. I think Jada Parker, because she's not in this match and she's not on the card at all, Jada Parker is going to come in and fuck over Lola once again, and Cora is going to eat the pin. So I'm going with Kalani so that she gets her rematch that she never got before. And then that sets up...
See, I was wrong. I thought you were... I knew exactly where you were going with that, and that's a great pick, but I thought you might have picked Stephanie. I think you probably thought I would pick Stephanie, but I'm wrong.
I think Stephanie is on the long-term plan. If you ask me to predict... We were talking about WrestleMania predictions on the last pod. If you want me to make a far-fetched prediction for Stand and Deliver, oi, 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 I think it's Fallon Henley versus Stephanie Vacour on that stage. Keeping in mind that this is a elevated weekly even though it's out in Los Angeles and it's at the Shrine building that looks really cool. I want to know what that looks like. I want to know what that crowd sounds like. But this is still an elevated weekly episode, and they didn't specify when the title match would happen. Is it just on a further weekly episode? Kalani gets her rematch out of the way. You build to Stephanie and Fallon Henley long term. But I think Kalani does get the feel good victory, the feel good, okay, she's the happy, spunky baby face that's got a little bit more grit now, so she gets a nice win to start her way into 2025. And like I say, she's probably going to get it on Cora, so it's going to be babyface win with some comeuppance. Jada Parker and Lola Vice is going to continue, I think, and Stephanie's going to sort of just lose, if that makes sense. Like, Stephanie might hit a big move on Cora, Kalani comes in and scoops up the win, that type of thing. But I think Lola Parker are going to take each other out, and she won't be a factor. So I'm going with Kalani with the long-term plan of eventually the real answer is going to be Stephanie.
Gotcha. So now, I hate to do it like this, but ditto. I mean, that's literally almost word for word what I was going for, except I don't think Cora's the pin in every scenario, but just about. And basically, like I said, Jada Parker is not done with Lola. It seems like Lola is my second pick out of anybody, just because I can see. But if anything, here's what I think. I think Kalani wins, Cora's the pin, and Stephanie and Lola have a miscommunication, which leads to a match on a weekly episode of NXT.
Which is pretty damn valid, because Lola and Stephanie had sort of a mini scuffle off of a miscommunication this past week on NXT.
Exactly what made me think it's going to
We're
happen
coming out of all
again.
the pre-taped episodes of stuff too, so
Yeah,
it's like what happened when, which spoiler did I read, that kind of thing. I got through the show and I forgot that I had read the spoilers, and I was like, oh, this sounds really familiar. Did this already happen once? No, I just read it and stuff. But I think it's going to be good. I think this is smack dab in the middle of the card. I don't think this opens.
Yeah, no.
I've got a weird...
I don't think it's going to open either. I have a different idea for that.
I think the ladies tag is going to open. The ladies 3-on-3 tag is going to open. But before we get to that, let's talk about the Heritage Cup match for the Heritage Cup that's not being fought under Heritage Cup rules.
Right.
For reason. Lexis King, Charlie Dempsey, the whole William
So it's
Regal
sudden death rules, right?
Sudden death basically meaning there's no rounds.
Yeah, because, all right, so let's talk about really quickly. We didn't get to touch on how the last match ended, but I thought it was a thing of beauty. So Lexis King basically gets the brass knuckles handed to him, doesn't want to use them. I'm going to go the babyface route. And then they get what? Thrown to the side. Oh, look at that. And Charlie Dempsey picks him up, and it looks like the DQ. Oh, no. And it was a very...
It is kind of cool that in the Heritage Cup thing, you can lose your title by default. Because that's really early days TNA. Early days TNA, they didn't have the champion's advantage like the other companies have, where you could lose by pinfall, submission, countout, or disqualification.
And it gives you that any given Sunday feel like, oh shit, anything can happen here. That's the great part about this. So I love that, but the way that he played it off, like, oh, I'm above getting a victory through nefarious means. Like, I don't want your brass knuckles, but I'm also fine with a DQ. Like,
but he's kind of, what do you want to say, like, he's playing it off as like he's tried to be the better guy for the past couple of weeks or whatever, and now he's completely delusional to the fact that he's not a good guy and he didn't win the right way. But he's like, I knew if I did it the right way, things could happen.
Exactly. And the story is so good. I mean, and knowing that, all right, your father's involved with this, and
your father's against you.
Yes,
it's very. I hate using this term because I think it gets overused, but it is a little on the meta side.
Exactly,
but
it's just enough. Apropos, but just enough to where it's just a pinky over the butthole. It's just saying hello. There's no accidental anal going on here. Sorry again, Courtney. I didn't mean to ruin New Year's Eve, but.
Gonna go sit on the rubber ring.
Right, but I'm sad to say though, I wanted to see more from his dad, obviously with Regal in AEW. Like the original debut of the Combat Club with Blackpool. I was so excited at the possibilities.
What are they now?
Yeah,
like,
the Ku Klux Combat Club.
What is it?
Yeah,
it's Mox versus Cope. Because syllables are hard. I don't want to say.
Buddy.
I like Dean Ambrose. I like Edge. I don't want to be saying this shit. Mox versus
Cope. I know. And this was not to shit on AEW, but the way he left was because, hey, I want to go work with my son, and that's exactly what he did. He didn't give Tony bullshit. Like he's like, I won't be on TV for a year.
But
I won't screw you over.
It would be really predictable and kind of cliche if he just randomly showed up in NXT and all of a sudden he was managing Charlie Dempsey. For him to be playing a character or trying to, poison the mind of Lexis King and sort of corrupt him, for lack of a better term, and his opponent happens to be Charlie Dempsey.
Yes, and he's in the ear of his son.
But here's the thing, like, everybody that knows, and if you're an actual casual, if those still exist, then you've just got Lexis King being mentored or being tried to be mentored by the vicious, infamous William Regal.
Exactly,
and
which is
Dempsey's
still a
just
great
kind of there.
thing to behold. So no matter what, it's not a loss, even if you don't know the behind-the-scenes stuff. But I love the way that, and I don't want them to say, like, okay, Dad, like maybe if he loses enough and like something happens and he just on the promo like walks by, like, okay, Dad, like that would be, but you don't need to.
Hey, he did the thing. He did
right?
do the Leonardo DiCaprio pointing meme. He did the thing.
You're right. But they don't need to heavily rely on it week to week to be like, come on, Dad, why can't you? Like it's just.
It's almost
there.
It's almost the. for the people that know, it's
the
almost,
spider webs and the storytelling.
Well, that too. Obviously that too. But for the people that know,
My favorite.
For the people that know, the joke only works if they continue not saying it. And not
exactly
actually
what I'm saying. I hope they never reference it.
It's all wink and nod.
It could be that hey dad moment, but then you're just leaning into it too hard, and I like I said, I don't want to see that in the promo. I like them just not touching upon it. Just
if Charlie Dempsey was the heel, like if he was like an asshole like he was when he first came in, he walked by Lexus King and it's like, for somebody with daddy issues, you'll take any daddy, eh?
That's more what I was leaning.
Yeah,
that's what I was trying to come up with on the fly. You're better at that, and I'm stoned, but you get the
question
point.
for you, because
yes.
This was brought up to me on Twitter like 2 or 3 weeks ago. The Heritage Cup rules, I know they're not for everybody. I like it. I want it to keep being a thing.
I like it as well, yeah.
I want it to keep being a thing. Do it like the Pure title. It's not going to headline the show. It's just something different to the buffet, so to speak, right?
Yes.
I would be okay, and somebody suggested it, and it wouldn't be a new title because it's a thing that already exists. If they got rid of the cup and you just had the Heritage Championship, how would you feel about that?
So they get rid of the Heritage Cup?
Get rid of the physical cup.
Okay, and just have it be...
And just have like a regular normal title belt, like the Pure title is a title belt. And just have it that we know what the Heritage title means, and we know what kind of rules they are, and blah, 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 blah. I'm 90% sure I'd be okay with it, because the Heritage Cup is clunky and awkward, and... the Stanley Cup winners don't bring the cup to every game for the next year.
Yeah, I would get rid of the cup. I don't think they need to. I would even turn it into. I don't want to say that. I wouldn't do a belt, but something more manageable, like the Dynamite Diamond Ring. I like the idea of that. I think that's what you had an idea of, but
the NXT Ruby Ring.
Yes, the golden goblet or the
oh my god
the silver singlet,
the NXT Holy Grail. Do
yes.
it. No. Make it a ring,
because instead of having the cup, we just have the Holy Grail.
No,
the goblet.
Make it a ring.
Goblet.
Make it a ring when they sign MJF.
Okay, I'm down for that. But until then,
I'm an asshole. It's
imagine
fine.
if they did like the crimson bracelet or something, like it's like my diamond bracelet.
And it gets presented by CM
the wretched
Punk.
Rolex. You know what I mean? Like
wretched. The alliteration is killing me.
It is. Yeah.
Are we? I'm going with this is where Lexus King finally gives into the dark side, finally takes the full mentorship of William Regal, and finally intentionally fucks over Charlie Dempsey.
Yeah, it seems like that's definitely what's going to be happening here. At least that's how I'm taking it.
Yeah.
I mean, nice. That is how it's being portrayed, anyways. I don't think there's another way for this to turn out. That's my prediction, and not to be so cliche out and out, but that really is just how I see it happening.
Yeah. Because if not, this is the type of story that's meant to lead to a heel turn.
Yes, absolutely.
And it was one of those, he was already a heel, and then he sort of MJF adjacent. I won't say it was on MJF level, but it's like when he started pretending to be a good guy, it's like, okay, yeah, we get it. You're playing nice to fuck over somebody along the way. Get it to the point where the fans are just about saying, wait, did he actually turn a page?
Yes.
And then take it away?
They had the start of that, like you said, with MJF. They really were making him our scumbag, and then they just had to turn the corner with it and totally fuck it up. But they did have something for a bit.
With the Lexus King thing, because he's such a slimy guy, and he's got the friggin' CGI fucking facial hair.
Beard, yeah.
Can't
even call that a beard. That is facial hair. You're right.
To get us from, oh, come on, we're smart fans. We're not going to fall for that. To get it to, wait a minute, maybe they actually are making him a good guy, and pull it right at that point is the kind of timing those guys over at the other company could only dream of. And the guy that could book a story like that, they filmed in the back without his permission, and then they fired him. So
after he goozled a little bit of a bitch.
Prediction for you. First NXT, or sorry, I'm asking you for a prediction. I don't have a prediction for you. Because of his ties to NXT, because this is the first NXT of the new year, because they are branching out and doing another on-location thing, and it is their first, not PLE, but like I say, elevated episode of the year, do you think we see CM Punk in some capacity?
I don't. I think if we were, they probably would have advertised it more than likely. I feel like there would have been some type. I mean, you never know if he does something backstage or interjects somehow.
I just had a thought. Because
I
I'm
don't have
special.
those often, so I'm
Because
curious.
here's the thing. I said at some point CM Punk has to have a rivalry with somebody on NXT. They teased it with Ethan Page, and then it didn't go anywhere.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
So what if, again, wink and a nod, because he knows that we know that he spends a lot of time in NXT. What if we close out Raw on Netflix, CM Punk decisively beats Seth Rollins,
Mm-hmm.
and says, tune in tomorrow night, New Year's Evil, for my celebration party, because that's where I'm going to celebrate. He comes and has a little segment on NXT, gets interrupted by somebody, there's his NXT feud for like a week or so.
Yeah, and
Pop a number or two. You get he's celebrating his win over Seth Rollins on Raw on NXT. He's interrupted by a debuting Josh Alexander. Randomly, you get CM Punk versus Josh Alexander on an episode of NXT.
randomly just thrown out there.
I think
for us to have.
not even right now, but at some point in the year when something big happens for CM Punk, if he turns around and says, I'm going to have my celebration on NXT,
Yes.
that will be huge.
That
because
would
you
be
know for
massive.
a fact that he'll be riding like whatever the highest high is, and whoever comes out to interrupt him is going to be trying to pull him back down.
And the fact
Oh my
that he
God,
has friends there. He
gets attacked by Rich
compatriots.
Holland.
It could happen, you know?
That could happen because he would just look at him and like, you're a big dumb idiot, and your face is stupid.
Yeah.
Because I took lessons from Cope. Jesus Christ. I don't know. I don't think anything like that is going to happen next week, but I do think with it being the inaugural
episode,
and like I say, again, for us up here, it'll be on Netflix. For you guys down there, it's still on the CW. But hey, they're out of the Performance Center. They're at the Shrine Entertainment Complex in Los Angeles. It'll look different. It'll feel different. It's an event. He's, really tight with a lot of them. Maybe he shows up on NXT to announce the return of AJ Lee.
Ooh, could you imagine?
Can I imagine?
That
oh my
would
God!
be-
Okay, we're not there yet. But Julia
No.
beats Roxanne Perez, and the show ends on a stare down between Julia and AJ Lee.
Really, Roxanne
Managed by CM Punk.
Roxanne would be really the one to be challenged by AJ, though, because
Fair,
of their So that would be, but I don't want to shit on it at all. That would be crazy.
But imagine AJ Lee came down and said, "Well, I was hoping to challenge you for that title, but you just got beaten, so I guess I got to go fight her now. So you don't get to. You've just lost your championship. Your mentor just watched you lose, and now your mentor wants to go fight her instead.
Yeah, your dream match is shit.
CM Punk
I don't want it.
CM Punk is there. CM Punk is there as a manager for AJ Lee, which would be fantastic. Because we know he can,
sign me up.
We know he can do media. We know he can do pay-per-view pre-shows. We know he can do commentary, even on commentary.
Mm-hmm.
We've never seen CM Punk as a manager. Let's see CM Punk as a manager.
Yeah, that is
NXT.
true. It's not something that
Let's
we've seen.
see CM Punk enjoying life, because there are weirdos out there that are upset that CM Punk is enjoying his life.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Can you believe he ran down to the Madison Square Garden?
The fact that he's having a good time is just upsetting to some people.
How dare he have fun? And you know what else is going to be a lot of fun? There's the transition I was looking for. Giggity. Fatal Influence versus, I don't know what the fuck we're calling this team, but I like it. Shotzi Tatum and Gigi.
Like the macabre madams. We need something like that,
They've got a heck of an entrance. I'll say that.
They do indeed, and I'm telling you, put a little bit more
favorites.
production value into it. I think if they gave them a group song.
I think they need like the zoom on the camera lenses to just be a little bit more. Anyways, in all seriousness, Tatum's a lot of fun. We already know Gigi's a lot of fun.
Where's that 8K lens, Spaz?
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Give me 9 or 10K. It's fine.
It's
I'm always going to be a little biased with Shotzi. I met her at Destiny. Check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list. It's fine.
Hey,
She's super nice. Silesia Sparks cut a promo on me in the merch area because I was wearing a Shotzi t-shirt. That was a lot of fun as well.
That's just cold-blooded,
I just got to chat with her for a couple seconds, and she seemed really nice, and she's a lot of fun. And then she did, I'll say it again, I've said it a million times before, the interview that she did with Lillian Garcia, where she says, yeah, I'd eventually like to get some titles, but what I really want to do is bring hardcore wrestling to the women's division of WWE.
Yeah.
Like, if they had used her to her full potential, she could be this generation's Lita.
It should have been and could have been and really needed to be.
And she was doing a lot of cool stuff in COVID, climbing the crowd fences and whatnot. Remember when they had the fences up in the Performance Center? And
she was
doing
willing
coffin
to jump
drops off the
anything.
wall and everything. Yeah, and she's a lot of fun. And she used to do a really good suicide dive until she like kissed a chair in Evolve.
Oh God, with her neck.
With her neck and her face,
Mm-hmm.
her whole damn face.
But I'm saying her neck went like backwards with that one. Ugh.
The pin eater in this match is going to be Jasmine Nix. Shotzi Tatum, Gigi are winning. I don't really have much to add to it other than that. It's going to be a lot of fun.
That's kind of the thing with this one, and there's not much to say going forward because it's going to be where, Jasmine Nix gets the pin. I think they got a little bit more for JC. I think Gigi's actually going to get the win, though, not Shotzi.
I think you're going to get, if it's not going to be Shotzi getting the pin, and it's not going to be Fallon taking the pin, because that match, as you said, will happen at some point. I don't think they're going to put the belt on Shotzi. I think that's another story for another day. It's not going to be either
Probably
one
not,
of them.
sadly, but
I think
it'd be a great move.
But
she deserves it.
The whole point of it is you get the Gigi getting the pin on JC Jane to go back to the beginning of their story with Toxic Attraction and whatnot, because they are the ones in this group that are actually connected and have the history and all that. Paxley came along for the ride. Shotzi came along to sort of big sister them. Fallon Henley is kind of an individual within a group, and Jasmine Nix is the new person, so unfortunately she's going to eat the pin. If the heels do win, it's unfortunately going to be Paxley that eats the pin. Because that's where they are in the pecking order at the moment. But I mean, I'm looking at this team and I'm looking at the immediate production they're putting into this team. I haven't seen that much production, especially over on Twitter and whatever, since they did the video packages of Shotzi Blackheart working on her tank leading into War Games.
Yeah.
And I want to get back to that Shotzi, because she went to the main roster and got a bit main roster-y. I like the story.
She kind of missed some of her stuff for a while.
Yeah, I like the story that they did with her shaving her head and because she wanted to do that for, I think it was like her sister or her cousin or whatever was going through stuff. So there was like a real life element to that as well. But for the most part, I like what she did in NXT. For the most part, I like what she did in Destiny. Just don't tell anybody. Check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list twice. But I mean, the fun team is going to win here. It's fine. You could even play it up as do the number one contenders match earlier on in the night, and now Fallon Henley is distracted with whoever this new person is coming to fight her for her title. Or even if that person's established, then they could distract outside the ring, and that could be what leads to the victory for the babyfaces. Or if that match hasn't happened yet, all four of the potential contenders could be staring her down from the rampway as well. Like you can play a lot of mind games where the champion's team, like not the champion herself, but the champion's team losing makes sense because they've got every distraction. It's 3 versus 3, but there's 4 other distractions on the ramp. That's a pretty understandable loss.
Exactly.
There's
not really much. I think the babyfaces win. I'm sorry to parry you so much this time because it's not one of those things where like it's formulaic. It's anything but, because we don't know who's going to win. Really, the NXT number one contenders match could be anybody's game. With this one, I mean, the heels could pull it out too. It's not as much of a foregone conclusion as we've said so far, but really, I genuinely feel like the faces win here. It is eventually going to set up the Shotzi match. She probably won't win, like you said, but we'll see. I mean, it seems more like that's a Gigi thing with everything that happened with Fatal, Toxic Women and their groupings.
Here's another wild prediction, right?
Okay.
Looking forward to WrestleMania / Stand and Deliver Oi 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 season. I don't think we see the women's tag titles on WrestleMania this year.
Okay.
I think we see the women's tag team titles, the titles that float over all 3 brands, featured on Stand and Deliver.
Oi Oi Oi?
Yes. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that these are going to be the ones involved. I don't think Shotzi herself is going to pick up a singles title in NXT. I don't think she needs to. Like, out of the 3, like, whatever you want to say them, alternative babyface girls, whatever, like, I think she's playing mentor to the other 2.
Yeah.
If she can mentor them to Stand and Deliver and
oi,
Tatum
oi, oi.
and Tatum and yes, oi oi oi. Let's do it properly. I think if she can mentor them to stand and deliver oi oi oi, and Tatum and Gigi under Shotzi's tutelage pick up the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships and bring them back to NXT, I think there's an awesome moment in waiting there.
I think so too.
Never mind the fact that, like they showed last week on NXT, they do have women's tag teams in NXT. Like, it's not to be forgotten.
Well, that's the thing, and we have missed out on most of the. Now it's part of a storyline for a little bit, but it's not the tag team. Belts haven't been a focus for a long time, and Jade got injured. They did a few things with him here and there on some PLEs, but I genuinely hope that they do more with it.
I think they were props in the general, we're going to shove Bianca Belair down your throats on every show as much as we can.
And I'd much rather have NXT have them, since they'd be utilized, and better handled, I feel like. So
I don't think we need 3 sets of titles. I think even for me, that would be a little bit of overkill.
If they got rid of them, I wouldn't hate it either. It'd be nice to have women's tag team wrestling, but they have to do it where they're actually really going to put stock and faith into what they're doing, and I don't know if they've figured it out yet.
What I will say is that them being the floating titles works. It's fine. It allows for a little bit of cross-brand stuff without totally breaking the brand split that people pretend to care about. But they establish them as floater titles, and every now and then they show up on NXT. Every now and then they show up on Raw. But they're booked as if those titles are SmackDown titles, and they have occasionally venture onto the other 2 shows. Do some booking, do some challenges, do some title reigns that actually take those titles to all 3 shows, and have them not only be seen as legitimate titles, but like underline the fact that they're floating titles, and that is unique, and that does make them special, and it should be like it's the one set of titles that you're going to see 3 times as much. So they should definitely feel bigger than they do, but they kind of feel like they're just camping out on SmackDown right now. And with SmackDown going to 3 hours, I don't see that changing anytime soon.
I don't see it changing either, and I mean, you're probably right. I mean, that's really it there. I wish, like I said, I wish things were different, but
yeah, Tatum and Gigi. For now,
I think it's as straightforward as that. Like you said, the faces. This is going to be fun. Faces win.
Oh yeah,
that's what we get out.
Shotzi's going to do something weird. All 3 of them are going to ride out on the tank or something. It's going to be. Actually, I don't know what the banquet hall would allow you to do as far as an entrance. The one they did in Lowell, and I keep going back to it. It was almost spectacular in the fact that the entrance wasn't spectacular. It was kind of like tucked away in the corner. So who knows? Maybe they'll do a no entrance flex.
Yeah, exactly. That would be another thing to be incredible, because it looked like ticket sales were really solid for this. So last time when I saw it, it looked really good. So
nice. And yeah, they're getting good at doing these mid-size venues, and maybe, like I say, their partnership with TNA can probably like lend some credence, hey, we did this venue one time and they were really good. We went to this venue, we were like,
exactly.
If you're
but
go
they also
smaller,
know how to temper expectations, Spaz. When they get a building and it's not selling well, they're like, well, shit, let's move things. Yep. And that's not a loss. That's not a knock.
But it is an adjustment though, right? Because the only thing they did before that was small was the Performance Center, which is really small, right? But when they did a proper pay-per-view, they would still go out to an arena. I think we underestimate, and I include myself in this. Like, yes, go big, go big, go big. Go to a stadium, go to a giant stadium, go spend 2 nights in a stadium. That is an adjustment to be made, right? But I think we underestimate, and like I say, myself included, that it's just as much of an adjustment to go from an arena to a smaller building and figure out how that works. This is why I keep sort of insisting and leaning on, you've got this partnership with TNA. They've been doing venues this size for a while. They can tell you where the good venues are. They can tell you what venues offer what amenities. Hey, you want to do a cool entrance? Hey, we did this place one time and they had this full frontal whatever. Like, I don't know what references I'm pulling up. But
I'm in.
Yeah, but you get my point though. Like, you need just as much help going smaller than usual as you do going gigantic, because I don't know if you know this or not, WWE is getting pretty good at going gigantic. Other companies could wish to be that gigantic. They're very gigantic. The shows are fantastic. I'm going to stop. Triple threat, Trick, Thorpe, and Oba. Here's what I'm going to say. I'm 110% sure it's not going to happen, and I can't put my finger on why even. I kind of want them to shock us and have Thorpe win this.
Yeah.
I do. Oba's going to get it eventually. Like, Thorpe will take it, and then Oba will kill him, and then it preserves the Oba Trick one-on-one match for stand and deliver. Oi, oi, oi.
It really feels that way. Like,
but I think they're going to go the simpler route. I think Oba's going to kill both of them. Trick gets the rematch, puts over Oba at stand and deliver, and goes to the main roster. I think having Thorpe sneak one in because it's a triple threat, because you have all the amenities to do some snaky shit. Oba hits a big slam on somebody. Thorpe comes in, hits Oba with a low blow because it's a triple threat. Takes advantage of whatever Oba just did.
And
Thorpe
then
holding
Trick
the belt.
gets the pin. Yeah.
Thorpe holding the belt even for a week. To just say, like, Oba comes back and kills him the following.
You mean Thorpe gets the belt and actually wins? Oh.
Yes, yeah.
I misunderstood that. Oh, that would be,
Because it's gonna go to Oba and Trick eventually. You do a triple threat when you're not quite ready to do the one-on-one match. As much as we say the guys are kind of in the back seat in NXT right now, respectfully, the big match, the big marquee that they have is a proper pay-per-view headlined by Trick and Oba. You make this a triple threat match. You put some chicanery into it for now to postpone and sort of maintain that match for later on. So what would happen, what I think is going to happen, or what I predict them doing, is Oba kills Thorpe, wins the belt without really winning it. Trick asks for his rematch. Oba is the proud champion, says, oh, fine, I'll beat you again, whatever. They do the match at Stand and Deliver, oi, oi, oi. Trick puts him over. Trick goes to the main roster. If you're going to do that, you might as well throw Thorpe into the mix. Thorpe has the other two slip on a banana peel, picks up the belt for like a week. Obafemi, bullies him into a rematch. Obafemi kills Eddie Thorpe in 5 minutes, carries the belt to Stand and Deliver, and gets solidified by Trick Williams at Stand and Deliver before Trick goes to the main roster.
I kind of like that better because then Trick and Oba gets to be a bit of a better story. Yeah, because now Oba's the champ, but he didn't beat Trick for it.
No.
And Trick can say, well, you stole my belt, and that carries the feud to Stand and Deliver. And like you said, that solidifies Obafemi as the true champ. And even if what if they have it end in a way, triple threat is no DQ, so that wouldn't. Right. I was trying to think of a way where Obafemi won, but he's not the champ, but you know what I mean? But there's no real way.
Yeah, you can't really.
You can't have a dusty finish.
There's no DQ.
Yeah, so you can't have a dusty finish, but
it would be really hard to do and not seem really contrived. But the whole. Both guys fall over, and each one has a hand on the other person's chest, and it's a double pin, so it's in question, rah. I don't.
And it always goes to the champion to retain in those moments.
The champion stays, but the victory is not. Is not concrete. I don't know that you can do a 3-way version of that without it looking really contrived. But I would. It
would just have to be the two men involved, and that would be all there to it. There would be no way to do it as a 3, I think.
Does Obafemi fall over with one hand on each guy's chest, and each one of them has one hand on him, so everybody's gotten a pin? But it looks like you've just positioned yourself into that so that you could do that finish. I would love to see them prove me wrong and do it in a convincing way. I want Thorpe to win this. They don't do it as much on NXT. We've talked about it on the main roster a lot with Drew, with Kevin Owens, with who's the third one? Seth Rollins, who are who have gripes, and they're not necessarily wrong with their gripes, but they're dealing with it the wrong way. They're acting it the wrong way. They're acting a fool a bit.
They're being impulsive. They're not listening to reason.
He's taken a lot of stuff personally that wasn't necessarily directed at him, feeling like his boss was ignoring him when really it was just, she had somebody dying in the parking lot. She didn't have time to talk to him at the moment. But you can see in his head,
I never get any type of respect. I don't get no validation. No one listens to me.
And then they blamed me for Ava getting knocked over when it wasn't really me. He hasn't really been wronged. Nobody has targeted him, but you could see how he would feel targeted.
Yes.
And nobody, like I say, there's 3 examples on the main roster doing it fantastically right now. Eddie Thorpe's not doing a badass version of that in NXT right now. Whereas you got Trick, who's the star, Oba, who's the force, Thorpe, who is kind of playing the Miz between John Cena and The Rock, except with legitimate motivations.
Yeah.
And I say that with respect as a guy that thinks the Miz is hella underrated, but he's doing a better version of that. And I don't know, man. I want to see what Eddie Thorpe as champion looks like. It might suck.
You're kind of
Who
selling
knows?
me on it. Like I wouldn't hate it, but for me, I like Obafemi
Because in a year,
winning
2
this.
years from
Obafemi.
now, in a year, 2 years from now, when Trick is on the main roster, when Oba's on the main roster, because he's going to the main roster soon too. Let's be real for a second.
Yeah.
But in a while, like even say he turns back babyface, he's like, I had a taste of that, and I got it the wrong way. I'm gonna get there the right way this time, and he wins the Iron Survivor or something along those lines. You're setting up a story that you can tell 2 or 3 years later, let alone right now. Because I don't think Eddie Thorpe is in Stand and Deliver this year at all. Oi, oi, oi.
Yeah.
But I'm saying Stand and Deliver, oi, 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 2028. Eddie Thorpe is your NXT champion, but it starts this week.
Okay. All right. I think I'm going to stay with Obafemi, but I love the way you laid this out. And if it happens as you called
let me be
it,
clear. Let me be clear. I don't think
Yes.
it's going to happen. This is what I want to happen.
That's what you want to happen. Yeah. And Eddie Thorpe winning in that way would be pretty damn incredible because it would be so newsworthy and shocking. Had we not probably seen a title change in the main event, but I still don't know about the main event. I keep going back and forth. So I think we're getting a title change somewhere, and there's not a ton of places to do it. So it's either the men's or the women's here, excluding the Heritage Cup.
We're getting a title change in the Heritage Cup, I think.
I'm saying as far as belts go,
well, it's not a belt yet, as we've discussed.
Or a ring, or a bracelet, or a necklace. But
Julia's beating Roxanne. Next.
Maybe not though. I mean, there are ways to have her not win yet and to keep Roxanne. You know what? Let's get right into it. You're so confident, and I want to be confident in Julia winning. But I feel like they're not. I feel like they're gonna fuck her over again because Julia wins here. And it kind of feels like that's it for Roxanne in a way. I know there's so much more you could still tell. There's rematches, but usually dethroning the champ is their swan song, typically.
My thing is, I firmly believe, I don't know what she'll be doing. I think they want Roxanne on the main roster before WrestleMania.
I do as well.
And there's not... and
that's why I said Rumble before. Maybe not Rumble specific, but it feels like
if she pops
soon.
up in the Rumble or even as a... like I said, surprise entrant in the Chamber, because I think that would be a lot of fun.
I think that would be probably more logical, but...
But here's the thing, like, if she's going to have a swan song and lose the belt, at least right now, there's not another announced NXT PLE before Stand and Deliver Oi Oi Oi. So... where do you do it on a random normal in the Performance Center episode of NXT? I don't think that's the gravitas that it deserves. But I mean, if you want to say that Julia goes on a hell of a run, it can't be like, okay, she wins the title a month before Stand and Deliver, and then in that month you set up a great grand new thing. Unless the rumors of Asuka coming back to NXT are true, which it would be insane.
Yeah, which would be nuts.
It would be nuts, and you could announce that on the night. You could start off Stand and Deliver Oi 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 and saying, oh yeah, by the way, Asuka's randomly showed up and she's going to challenge Julia for her NXT championship, and nobody's going to complain. But like, in other words, like, put somebody else in there, like move Fallon Henley up to face Julia, or like I say, somebody totally comes out, not totally out of left field, but somebody that you didn't quite think was there yet in a Sol Ruka, who's a very solid mid-carder, or somebody that we thought was going in the tag team direction, or maybe they're trying to push forward to the Julia Stephanie thing for Stand and Deliver, but
which wouldn't be the worst thing to hold it off till then.
That would be the main event.
Yeah,
I don't. There's nobody in the men's
because people have
division.
wanted to see that match forever, and they could have done that week one. Really, AEW probably would have, like they gave Ospreay and Ricochet away. I would have held off and really done this as as they're building now, because everyone thought that was going to pretty much be the match. Like, she'd win the title right away from Roxanne, and Cora Jade returned and kept that away. So
I think there's a little bit of a shadow looming in the wings on that match if you haven't already fully established Roxanne Perez on the main roster, because they are they are the 1 and 1A of NXT as soon as Roxanne moves up, because we know we're getting Jordynne Grace, but I think Jordynne Grace is skipping right to the main roster as well.
Yeah, but if Cora Jade loses, being the pin for that match, it's almost like, well, she could maybe go up with Roxanne, and
Maybe.
think about them two coming up for the women's tag titles. Even, I mean, it's not.
I had not thought of that. Them
It's
being
not-
called up as a tag team,
called up as a tag team and go right for the women's tag titles. I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for them to accomplish for a little bit, because
I had
taking
not
it from
considered that.
Naomi, and I mean, that would be great. And they work so well together. Why break them up now? But you can have
Fair
them move up with Roxanne losing the title. All right, fuck it. You're kind of making me reconsider. So, because it makes more sense for Julia to win. I didn't know if they would let go of Roxanne yet. Because like I said earlier, it seemed like she's going to leave in the around Rumble time, somewhere around there, and it just feels that way. So that's why I was less sure that she would win. I really initially thought, like, all right, this is where Julia has to beat her. She lost once. This is the match. But somewhere in the back of my gut, it feels like, oh, there'll be some chicanery, some fuckery for them to hold off to stand and deliver.
I would 100% buy into that. But it's not like the main roster where we've got Rumble to get through and we've got Chamber to get through before we get to WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah.
There's this, and then there's Stand and Deliver, unless they stick something else in there. Pause. But I don't think they are. I think last year we went right from New Year's Evil to Stand and Deliver.
I think so, and that's a big oi without anything in between. So yeah, they have
unless,
time to build.
Unless they're going to prolong this for 4 months and do it again at Stand and Deliver, which I don't think they're going to do.
I don't think so either, but they could. I mean,
you gotta do a lot of filling in there.
That's a hard, because then you got to have people like break off and face off and turns, and all right. The more we break it down, the more we make logical sense out of it. They're gonna take Julia away from NXT. She's going to the main roster, and not Julia, excuse me, Roxanne, and Julia's gonna win. So Julia's gonna win. Roxanne's gonna lose the title. It seems like it's a sure thing. I see why you're so confident, because, like I said, my thing was just I couldn't get over the Roxanne out of NXT part of it. Like, it just...
What I think would be funny, right, and it's funny the way it's happening, like if New Year's Evil was happening this week, and then we had the Raw debut on Netflix the following week, I think Roxanne Perez showing up on Raw for the debut show would be one more headline for the debut show. But the debut show is happening the day before.
I was going to say that earlier, and then we got into talking, and I forgot to make that point. But that's a great point indeed, because I was you know what?
Whoa, wait, though. I just remembered something.
What's that?
And I'm not saying that this is a thing, but maybe it's a thing.
Could be a thing.
There was one match that was supposed to be on the Raw debut that got bumped by a week.
Oh, the women's.
The week after, they are establishing the first women's intercontinental champion.
Lyra Valkyria taking on Dakota Kai.
Yeah, apparently it's going to be the main event, and that's why it was moved. Imagine Dakota Kai wins, becomes the first women's intercontinental champion, and while she's celebrating, gets attacked by a debuting Roxanne Perez.
That would be insanely
Chops
massive.
out her knee, because everybody in NXT knows how bad her knees are.
Exactly. Just.
Anyways, we're booking the territory, buddy.
I think so. And you know what I love? That it actually has main roster connections and implications that matter now. You're not losing who you are from NXT. Like, you're not going to come up as Theory. You're not going to lose your first name. You're not going to be just Penta. You're not going to, all those things. You're not going
to walk around with the Revival with half of your last name.
Exactly.
Because what are AEW fans doing right now? They're coping. You know what the funny part is too? I know you and I said it on some show. I don't remember which one it was. It was when Edge debuted and I came back to podcasting with you. It was around that point in time where I'm like, oh, they've got Adam Copeland's just so they can cope harder. And now I guess they are going to have the Cope Harder T-shirts. And I'm like, oh my God,
that was a terrible joke. Like, that shouldn't be a real thing. Oh,
he said in an interview that he changed it to Cope because Rated R Superstar Adam Copeland is too many syllables.
So syllables
syllables are hard.
They are. Rated R Superstar Edge. Rated R Superstar, because he's used to Edge. That's what it is. So he needs that. one word name. You know, he couldn't be. He had to be Prince again. I guess.
Anyways, leaving on a sour note, obviously, but we've definitely booked the territory, and we got it
have
done
indeed,
in a
my
relatively decent amount of time. I know you got a jet, so tell people where to find you.
Got a jet to the jet. That's right. Heading to the airport, my friend. You got to pick up the kids. So you can find me on YouTube at Countdown Ended on there, or on Twitter at Countdown Ended as well. And don't forget, you and I, my friend, will be live this upcoming Monday night for the debut of Raw on Netflix. I really hope they tell us the numbers for viewership, because I'm really I'm big into ratings, but like, imagine they hear that 40 million people tuned in to Raw. You know,
I'm just curious as well, and you probably know this and I don't. How many homes have access to Netflix versus the homes that have access to Max?
That's what I'm saying. There's like hundreds of millions of Netflix subscribers to, you know, the others, you know. So
and we'll just throw the attendance numbers into the mix as well. I got that spreadsheet all ready to go. Anyways, and you guys know where to find me, or you wouldn't be here. I have been Spaz. This has been Super Sexy Jake fucking DeMarco. We are your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, me and Sexy Jake are tagging out. Bye, guys.
282 million to be exact.
Boom.